Hello, my name is Ashley Boston. I have been assigned Chapter 9 Interactive Television. We'll get right to it. Hopefully, everything is very detailed, straight to the point, and I'll let you know as I move from slide to slide. Very interesting chapter. We'll start with why study interactive television. Well, of course, you have the 3 points listed in the chapter as you venture to read it. I wanted to take those and to put them in my own perspective, give my own perspective of the 3. So I have the experience, which makes me think of who we are as a people in general. Doesn't matter race, culture, creed, anything. I feel like the human race is a very feeling group of people. We're created by a very feeling God. So the experience between television and the person viewing it, creating the experience and connecting the making that connection, making the bridge between us as feelers and what we're watching. Second is the tangible connections. Being able to relate to who we are watching, what we see. We want to feel a part of something and be in the know, given the opportunity to be heard and for what we say to be counted, and then action to be followed by that is a very, very powerful tool that you can give a person. It's a very powerful draw. It's what draws us in. And I'll be more detailed. That may be slightly vague, but I develop it more as we move on through the PowerPoint. And the third point is demand and supply. It's a bit of the feeling and the being connected combined. We want what we want, when we want it, how we like it, what we love, what makes us happy. So if you know the demand, you know what's wanted, what's sought after, what's desirable, what the consumer will be drawn to, then you create the supply. You take actions to supply that need, to supply that desire, to supply that demand. So that's my take on the 3 points that are listed in the book. Moving on. Next is, I have my notes here. ITV defined. Basically, interactive television is, in my mind, is a customizable trip to Froyo. For people who may not know what that is, it's a Frogan yogurt establishment. You can go and pick from many different flavors, from cake batter to cream cheese to vanilla to chocolate to fudge to orange. Many different flavor choices of frozen yogurt. Then on top of that, you have a bar of so many toppings that you could probably never imagine all of them. Brownies, nuts, different assorted nuts, fruit, fresh fruit, cookies, different cakes, just all different kind of things as topping choices after you select. Now, note, you select the flavor you want, then you can select the toppings, and there's no limit. Whatever you can afford, because at the end they put it on a scale and weigh it, and that's how they price it. So, to your heart's content, pick as many flavors you want, you pick the size you want, you pick the toppings you want, you check out. So, my view of interactive television, or at least the view of what it started as and what the creators probably saw it becoming or wanted or desired it to become in future as technology evolved and time would progress. So this trip to Froyo, you pick your flavors, you pick your toppings, and such being able, this is connected then to interactive television in a way of shows you like. You can favorite them, set them to be watched or recorded at a certain time. But going back to what interactive television started as, maybe you could choose your flavors. You could choose the frozen yogurt, the flavor, whatever flavor you wanted. And it could have been limited to only 3 choices: chocolate, vanilla, and let's say a mixture of chocolate, vanilla, and ice cream. And strawberry, excuse me. So that was it. No toppings, just those 3 flavors. All you had. Now, as interactive television has progressed and evolved over time, those flavors have been mixed, and then some have been created and experiment to see what tastes good and what will people be drawn to. Like, you would never think that bacon would have become something that's so popular in desserts now. Then, as it evolves, interactive television may have started out as you only had a certain number of channels. You could only watch those channels. Only a certain number of shows. There was only a certain number of television provider companies. So they only could provide so much. Now, you have a limited number of channels. You can stop and pause during live TV, TiVo, and being able to set a series to record and set your favorite shows to record, so that because of the busy lives that people tend to lead, can't sit down right when something is on. So we watch it when we have the time, if we have the time. And sometimes on the go. Another point we'll get to later on. Next. Staying ahead. With any product or service, one has to stay ahead of their competition. This is just is. With the advances in technology and the birth of the internet, I believe this has led to it's obvious that it's led to the free access to services that one might have to pay for otherwise. It's and pay for it through a specific cable service provider. Through the many advances since 2009, which isn't that long ago if you really think about it, but it can be seen as light years from then to now, and what television has become to people and what television just is, and how we're drawn and watering at the mouth at certain things. For instance, reality television. Right now, they're doing the reunion show for Love and Hip Hop Atlanta, and there was this confrontation, and you can look on Instagram or Twitter and Facebook, and you see that it's the topic of conversation for millions of people. Um, and just being able to connect to so many people at one time on one subject is crazy. It's amazing when you think about the gravity of what that means. Now, where it falls and where it's disappointing is the actual topic. The the ITV industry then to now, thus became the birth of TV everywhere. With things like Twitter and Instagram, Facebook, but also with cell phones, the iPhone, Samsung Galaxy, so different phone providers, and actually these things have allowed television to stay afloat. You would think it would take popularity or take focus from television, but where television companies have been smart, they have joined forces with these social media networks by being able to live chat with characters from a show, with actors and artists doing award shows, and being able to see what they're literally feeling, thinking, saying when something happens has allowed for the growth and the involvement of ITV. We like to stay on the pulse of what's happening, what's hot, the society we live in. Now, this is not something I pay a lot of attention to, and maybe a lot of you don't, but I think a majority of society nowadays is stuck on trends and watching trendsetters and watching people who they look to as role models, celebrities, basketball players, artists, singers, rappers, people with money or with a life that looks like it's perfect, that looks good, looks happy, looks like they have nothing to worry about. This is what draws people in. The very fact that you can get a celebrity to do a commercial for a product that they may or may not actually use in their real life, but then sales go up just because Michael Jordan put a stamp of approval on, say, a certain brand of chapstick. Everybody has to have that chap. If he says it's good, then I need to purchase it. That kind of thing. And it's sad and funny to say at the same time, but this has always been how we are. Now, I don't think it was as obvious probably back when my grandmother and my great-grandmother and my great-great-grandmother may have been growing up, but I think this little green monkey, if you will, has always been there, and certain people just chose to start feeding it so that it grew and grew and grew into what it is now today, and why our culture and the world we live in is so stuck on things that really should matter. But the good things about it, we do love to be engaged and be entertained. I am a movie person. I love movies. I love entertainment. I love music. I love acting. My bachelor's is in speech and dramatic arts. So that aspect of it is wonderful, and I love it, and I only look at the things that, make it not so great of an industry because of what the industry is about. And it's about money a lot of times and what's popular. And usually what's popular is the last thing that actually needs to be popular. Forgive me, I might be sidetracking a little bit. Okay, moving on. Death of ITV. You would think it would be all the negativity that was on TV. And there was a time when negativity, when things like nudity and uh, just many different things that have a negative connotation to it were not accepted on television, not even a little bit. But more and more in recent years, it's become okay for certain things and okay for, daytime television to use certain language and to show certain images when they know or when it's a greater chance that sensitive minds could be watching during those times. But this death comes up. You see, it's a question mark, and that's because as you read the text, it kind of alludes to like the challenges that the ITV industry had to face and deal with during, staying afloat and staying ahead of the time and staying ahead of the many different things that came into play that maybe started to shift and take away interest of sitting at home in front of a television. Life for many people surprisingly, in wide ranges of ages, have become people who always need to stay plugged in. And what I mean by that is always having your cell phone glued to your hand, sitting down for dinner, where sitting at in a dining room or at a table with your family is a thing of the past. Sitting with TV tables in front of a television, watching something, movie, TV show, whatever, with your food, with your phone right next to you. No one having a conversation about what's going on in each other's lives, but so focused on staying plugged into technology, plugged into what's happening, outside of the four walls of their home, which that's the most important thing that should be on their minds, but usually isn't today. One question, my first question that I want to pose is, what is the dangers of staying plugged in, looking forward 10 years from now? What are examples of, very specific examples of the dangers of being so plugged in? One in particular that is very close and dear to my heart is just parents not being as active in their children's lives as they used to. I'm a teacher by profession. I've been teaching for many, many years, and I'm only 23, but I say that not in a school system, but in after school programs, enrichment programs, one that I started myself when I was only 13, and then now moving to Georgia and being an assistant teacher for daycare and a school combined. Just seeing the attitudes and the behaviors of children and how it is a direct result of a lack of being plugged into your child and your family, your life, but being plugged in to so many other things around you. Just what are other dangers of that, or what is experiences that one might have had or witnessed as a result of this kind of thing. Um, let's see. Is that the good side of it is I don't think ITV will ever truly die. It's not dead. Definitely knowing your audience and knowing who's going to buy into what you're selling is a very important tool to remaining successful. And it's something that the ITV industry has done very well, knowing their audience, appealing to younger generations with the shift in the technological devices such as cell phones, iPads, tablets, things like that. So it's not dead, and I don't foresee it dying anytime soon. Okay, moving on. The new era. Okay. Oh, excuse me. Let's go back for a second. Just a point about death of ITV that I definitely wanted to make. So some old things, Old Faithful. There's nothing like the real thing. Almost as good as the original. Are all great explanations of why ITV will never die. There's nothing like the real thing. Although we have evolved, I keep saying we because I think yes, there are very specific people who don't buy into this industry and the negativity of it, or and who appreciate it for the positivity of it, and for who try to combat the negative with positive. But just speaking in terms of majority and how I suppose I see the world connected to this concept. You, there will always be that group who still believe in tradition and family, and knowing that there is nothing like just closing out the world and appreciating the people that you love, the people that are around you, the people that God has blessed you to have. And that support, and just sowing into them as they sow into you. Okay, now moving on. The new era. The future looks bright for ITV, and you know, or it does for the future versions that will evolve and be fine-tuned and elevated from what ITV was, what it is now, and definitely looking forward to what it will become in the future. Sorry, looking at my notes, making sure that I'm not missing any points. Excuse me. Definitely one instance where you see the solidity, solidarity. Excuse me, trying to the longevity. We'll use that word. Excuse me. Of what ITV has, can have, will have is, I think, the bundle pack with like cable service, phone service, and internet. Um, and providing all of those for one set price from one provided by the same company is something that people will buy into, because although yes, we like the portability of having our cell phones and having data plans and being able to, travel around and connect to a hotspot, um, and we might sacrifice having cable television sometimes for seeing it as too expensive, especially in my house. I know growing up, for better part of my childhood, it was something that we actually could afford, but sacrificed to afford other things, like my mom putting my older sibling in sports and her slowing into me in theater and being able to do different clubs, FBLA, science, and things of that nature. And you sacrifice certain things that you don't necessarily see as a necessity. And some people don't do it because they actually can't afford it. The prices can be outrageous sometimes. Um, but yes, this bundle concept and just providing it at the right price, and this moving to the digital age and broadcasting and being able to just provide so many different services and different concepts of these services, of what you can do in video games, for example. Actually, no, better yet, I'll use 3D movies and the theaters where you can go and you literally can be watching someone on a roller coaster on screen, and your seat moves and you feel wind hitting you, and you literally feel like you are a part of that. You are in that screen, in that movie, in that action, in that moment. Uh, Things like that keep just always evolving and continuing to move forward and never allowing people to be bored by the product and by the service. Uh, Guess we'll move on. Factors to watch for. I think a lot of people are greedy. Going back to that, wanting what we want, what we like, when we want it, how we want it now, but aren't always willing to pay for it. Uh, so then the company figures out a way, in my mind. Now, this could just be the cheap part of me, because I tend to be, I tend to be thrifty. Say that, it's a lot nicer than calling myself cheap. But uh, learning how to make something appear to be a deal, not always really a deal. Sometimes maybe. Uh, But just allowing for those options and keeping people's options open, and just never allowing people to be bored by the service and what you provide, how you can provide it, how it can be made available to them. If they're on a budget, if they're on the go, if they only want it for a certain point in time, what really gets a lot of people is those commitments and 2-year contracts. So, one popular thing now is a cell phone without a contract. You don't have to, you can just get what you need. You don't have to get all of these extras if they aren't services that you'll actually be using. Excuse me. Okay. Consumer generated content. Simplified, moving out the middleman. Uh, it's a very dangerous thing. In my mind, it's looking at it like I no longer have to go through the company who started it, the original trendsetter. I don't have to go through all of those channels or the red tape to get something or to get somewhere that I want to go. With all the self-publishing and just so many, shortcuts to being famous, to business ventures. That saying, it's who you know, it's not what you know, it's who you know, coming into play. The piracy and digital rights, copyright theft, too many to catch, and just are you just count the billions probably that are lost in the process of people, streaming copyrighted content. And um, it's something that the ITV industry has to worry about, yes, but then safeguards that have been put in place, like now, whereas you used to could go on a TV channel's website and watch the shows for free, but now you have to put in your cable provider username and password before you can watch. You're allowed to watch those videos. So just it's something to watch for, maybe for the industry, but they definitely are being smart about it and figuring out ways to safeguard things like that from continuing to happen. Now, saying again, it's too many to catch. Now, a lot will slip through the cracks, but definitely safeguards like that cut down the number in a major way. Media delivery options, with the advances in technology every day, people with great ideas going into business for themselves. Sometimes a lot of it is just I have the idea, but I might not have the resource. So, TV shows like, I think it's Shark Tank. I believe it's Shark Tank, where you can tell about your product and then the sharks will give you a price. I'll give you this much, you give me this percentage, and I'll front the cost, and we'll go from there. It's just like a bidding war. The create your own apps and YouTube sensations. There's so many people who are made famous from YouTube, and just little snippets or one video that goes viral, whether it's on YouTube or not, in the many different social media platforms nowadays. this brings me to another question that I want to pose. It's, you know, will there be too many options in the future up for grabs? Will it be a situation of more quantity and less quality? Or as we progress in the future and evolve as people, is it possible to have quality over quantity with nothing safeguarding any the everyday Jack and Jill being able to post what they decide and get likes, views, whatever the case may be. Just to clarify, because there were some questions that might have been vaguely skipped over. I apologize. But lastly, number one, staying plugged in 10 years from now, good or bad, what effects will it have on the world and the people in it? Two, who is more guilty, the uploader or the viewer who has to know the content is copyright? I believe, that was slide 6 or 7 where that question will make sense. 3, what is truly gained for the constant attachments to media? Good influences, bad influences, unrealistic examples, proof of the times. I want you to think and to just feel, most definitely, because I am a feeler, just, what's truly gained. Because we have good examples in the media. We have great mega preachers and gospel artists and people who are actors or actresses but have great images in the public eye. But do we have enough of them? Are they at the forefront? And if they're not, then how can they be placed at the forefront, or what needs to happen? That's making that question way bigger than it has to be. But just sticking to that specifically, it's, go with it. And lastly, the quantity and quality in reference to the extension to the 15 minutes of fame that has been afforded by reality TV, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and all other social media outlets. Lastly, I didn't really look for outside sources other than the text for this one. A lot of it is because I could really relate to the chapter, and I apologize if that would have helped more, but I feel like now that you have the questions, you can go and find those outside sources to challenge anything that I may have said, or just to simply answer any of those questions that you might feel strongly about. I definitely wanted to give choices because I'm a person that likes choices. I write better, I do better, I perform better when I can truly connect to what I'm talking about, what I'm writing about, the task that's given to me. So I hope you enjoyed. Hope I wasn't too all over the place. It's been a pleasure. Thank you, classmates. I can't wait to view your video presentations and PowerPoints. I just look forward to the rest of this semester. Excuse me. God keep you and God bless you. Thank you.